for you, Jamie.
That was great.
Just a
I
little
did
bit
not
of.
expect that.
I don't appreciate the
Thanks.
fact that you took intimate pictures of me and my family eating in a field and used it as an opening video. How dare you?
Listen, it is. It's first off.
Willie's
Welcome to
here.
another episode of Bobby's Cryptid Corner.
Hey,
Where's
gang.
Bobby?
We are technically
I don't
covering
know.
cattle mutilation, but mainly cows. So
Yes.
Yes. So,
Moo.
I guess I'm gonna fill in for myself and Bobby tonight. So, let's start off with who's here. Enzo's here. We can't do a show unless Enzo is here. And my
Week.
beard
Enzo
and brother, Big Willie, is here.
Stop, Big Willie.
Hides and long grass is here. Usually, Bobby says hides and long grass is first. Sorry, I'll do better next time. Renee Cruz is here. Bobby Broadway is here, and we're here.
Joe 5D.
Joe's here.
Joe 5D is here. Yes,
And
you're
Mr.
correct.
Oh, I
Rogers.
love that. Cows in the trap. That's so great.
Everybody
yeah.
knows that cow is the most flavorful animal in the world. I mean, they just taste.
So good. I agree
Chef's
with you.
kiss. It would be hard to
Nobody here is a
go
vegetarian.
vegan,
No.
unfortunately.
I was vegan for a while.
Ugh, gross when you were in that cult.
I was too. I survived like maybe 4, I'd like to say 5, but I feel like halfway through the 5th month I was like, nope. Because all I ate were fucking Boca burgers and Caesar
Ooh.
salad.
Mm.
Damn, did I drop weight really quick. But then I went to my friend's house and her dad, who was Italian, made all this delicious sausages and lasagna and bam. What it was like literally one bite and then never went back. That's all it took.
I
Yeah,
was vegan
that's
for
all
like
it
3
takes
years,
for women. Just one bite of Italian sausage, and you're just
And you're right back to it.
And
Exactly.
you're
It's like
right.
once you go meat,
meat.
everything's meat.
And
For me, it
of
was-
course,
For me, it was
Danielle
fish.
is here.
That's a meat you gotta beat, man.
Who's here tonight? We have Tony, of course. I am Jamie,
Yes.
also known as Medusa.
That's
You got
funny.
me, Curry Kagad. I want to shoot myself in the face.
Maybe don't say that. Why? Why?
Your mental
Why?
illness is showing.
Why? Hi, my name is Kari, and I am
It's a Kierkegaard joke, but okay.
0 days off of suicidal thoughts.
Yes.
Oh, wrong meeting. I'll leave.
Wrong meeting, wrong meeting.
one.
My name is Bree. I'm still just a goat. Maybe, hopefully, I'm a live goat.
Mm.
And then captain of our episode today, Bottled Moo, aka Borderline Boomer, aka Millennial.
Millennial man.
Motherfucker.
Boomex.
You gotta talk about how old I am.
Wait.
Millennial Boomex.
The theme of today's episode is fuck your personal peppers.
Yeah,
That's
fuck
the
your
thing.
personal peppers.
Fuck your
Yeah.
personal
Fuck your personal peppers.
Yep.
We're literally about to go live, and that's the last thing I hear. As I'm like, let me run to the bathroom before
Fuck
you
your
press
personal
live.
peppers.
All I can hear is "fuck your personal peppers."
Mhm.
We're
I
a
want to
really
hear about
fun.
your personal peppers, Tony.
We're a really fun group, obviously. So
Yeah, we're super mature.
let
So mature. Well, it's hard work running a cabal, you know. You got to let off some steam. So.
True.
Exactly.
So
It
All
is.
right, let's get into it.
Yeah. So we're talking about cattle.
Oh.
How did you do that?
Oh, fancy.
We're talking about the cattle mutilations. So apparently, in the world, cows and other cattle that nobody eats are being mutilated. That's weird.
Ooh, there we go.
This is a weird one.
So let's
Jamie
go.
said she made this fun. She added hats.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, before we
Right,
started,
yeah.
I was like, I tried to make
I
it
made
fun.
it
I added
fun.
hats.
I did hats.
Poor
Bobby's
It's so
not
fun.
here,
It's so
but
fun.
Bobby's not here.
Bobby's
No,
not
he
here,
is
but
here. He's
he's here in
he's
spirit.
hiding.
He's here in spirit. Yes.
Mhm, he's just backstage.
Yeah.
honestly, can I just say, I think that this is one of those topics that people automatically assume are alien. I think it's been a part of the alien-ish enigma for quite some
Yes.
time.
Mhm.
We thought majority of it had gone away. We might learn otherwise, but it seems like crop circles and cattle mutilation were kind of the first two really big issues and things that happened in relations to could it be aliens? Like those were the two things. And then it seems like those two things were dying out, but we don't know. Maybe it's coming back. Who knows? So I think that's a little bit of why I'm talking about this today. Mr. Tony.
Of course, I'd like to remind everybody that we drink when we mispronounce something.
Mhm.
Oh.
That's the new thing since
Joke's on you, I don't ever mispronounce things.
Wow.
No, you
Wow.
British fuck.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, right.
Don't worry, I have a dig at you on this show, so don't worry about it. It's already built in.
Ooh, perfect.
Fuck your personal
All
preference.
right. Fuck y'all personal papers. Are we good?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Ah!
So, what are cattle mutilations? It's
That's what I look like in the morning, though.
Me too.
that's how I look. Yeah.
Every morning at like 5 a.m. I look like that.
So, does anybody else take like really hot showers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Scorching.
Like I
Not me.
crack the cold water and then it's all hot water. It's gotta be
Yeah.
hot.
I do as hot as
can be.
possible. Yeah, same.
Yeah. It's
did-
how I know that I'm still
Not
alive.
me. I did cold showers for a really long time because it's good for your overall nervous system.
Mm.
And it will help regulate anxiety and brain function and lower your cortisol levels. So I was for a long time only taking ice cold showers. And I've gotten sick of that. So now I just take like a normal shower and then the last 30 seconds I'll sit in the ice cold.
Wow.
So
That can be
can't
really
relate.
good for circulation.
Yeah.
Nope. I take them hot as hell.
That's
So,
me.
what are cattle mutilations? It's the killing and mutilation of cattle under unusual, usually bloody circumstances.
You fuckers.
Is the removal of ears, eyeballs, the flesh around the jaw, the flesh around the face, the tongue, the nodes, genitals, and rectum. So I want to put this forward ahead of time. If you're kind of squeamish, this really isn't the episode for you. And YouTube might get a little upset for us doing this episode with these images. So if it ends up being a members only thing that we have to do, then you're just gonna have to be a member.
I mean,
You're here
maybe we
watching
should
it
start
now.
the more risque stuff we could probably get away with on Rumble. So.
Right.
Oh God, here we go.
Jesus Lord.
But just for everybody right now, as you're watching this, if you're seeing this live before YouTube is like, you can't show dead animals because it's animal abuse, and we try to,
That's why I put hats on it.
yeah.
Okay.
It's not the easiest subject, and I don't want to sugarcoat it for everybody because it's not the easiest subject. So
It's graphic. It's very graphic.
It's very graphic.
And very sad.
It is. But if anybody wants to see it outside of seeing it live, just tell them to be better people. Subscribe, be a better person. So there's other cattle, sheep. So let's narrow this down depending on how bad society is. Sheep, okay. Rabbits, okay. I'll get to the next two. Horses, it's a little bit of an economic crisis.
It's murky. Yeah.
It's a little murky. Bison, nobody cares.
Decent.
Goats, totally okay. Sorry, Bree. Elk,
Yeah.
okay. Pigs every single day. Deer, I have a freezer full of deer. Dogs and cats,
No.
we're in North Korea territory.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think that one of the reasons they're kind of considered cattle is because I feel like a lot of people more use the word cattle as in just like animals on your farm, not
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
working animals. So things like dogs and cats can be working animals. Like, you know, my cousin has a dog that goes and herds cattle, and there's cats who are out there killing mice in the barn. And so
Yeah.
I don't think that we should think about cattle as like what we eat, but more as these are the kind of animals that are on the farms that it is happening to.
Yes.
Farm animals.
Absolutely. We're not eating whiskers over milk dud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Settle the case. You got it.
Settled facts. History of cattle mutilation. So this is actually
Hey, I can see my house from here.
Ooh.
you probably can. So the
Don't dox
earliest
yourself.
known documented outbreak of unexplained livestock deaths occurred in early 1606, just 170 years before Britain learned their lesson about the city of London. Sorry. And some of the shires adjoining around London. Whole slaughters of sheep have been made in places to number of around 100 and others less, but this is all around the area, right? Where nothing is taken from the sheep but their tallow, which is
Fat.
yep, it's fat, it's like rendered fat.
They use it to make soap.
Yep.
Ugh.
And inward parts, the whole carcasses and fleece, and this is why it's like an issue. Like the fleece was left, so at that time, that is like where your clothes came from, right? So they left one of the more important parts of the sheep, which is clothing, behind. And to quote 1606 London, of this sundry conjectures, but most agree that tendeth towards some fireworks. Kari, can you translate what I just said?
Was it of this sundry conjectures, but most agree that it tendeth towards some fireworks?
Yes.
I'm guessing that they saw something in the sky, but the general consensus it was some kind of firework.
Got it.
Oh.
Interesting.
Perfect. The outbreak was noted in the official records of Court of James I of England.
James the First.
No, I won't say that. Charles Fort collected many accounts of cattle mutilations that occurred in England in late 19th and 20th centuries. John Keel mentioned investigating animal mutilation cases in 1966, while with Ivan T. Sanderson that were reported in the upper Ohio Valley around Gallipolis, Ohio.
Galapagos.
I hate Ohio.
Galapagos.
It's not Galapagos. No, it's a made-up
There's no
fucking word.
C.
Gallipolis.
Gallipolis.
Let's drink.
Drink. Everybody drink. And fuck Ohio.
I don't drink.
So there were witches. Sanderson sisters.
Witches in Ohio somehow connected to something in 1606. So
Who?
Who would have thought it was way back in the day?
Way back in the day. By the way, this map that you were seeing in that picture is from 1596. So this is only this map was created 20 years before these sheep were killed.
Is this supposed to be America?
No, Brie, that is
No.
Right here? No, right here.
No, that's Ireland.
Yeah.
No, because that's Scotland, which means Ireland would be up here.
Oh my god, Brie, I'm just going to have an aneurysm. I just can't.
I thought, wait, what are we looking at?
Ireland is west of the British.
I'm out. Bye.
Yeah.
It goes like that. Ireland connects to Scotland.
This, everybody, is the American education system in full effect.
No. Hold on. Hold up.
Go ahead and Google it. Kari has already left us.
I swear. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, so they connect, but the wrong way, I was thinking.
Wow.
I thought it connected that way.
That was something.
Okay, listen. For the record, I've never been there.
For the record, neither have I. You know, like, you ever looked at a globe?
No,
Listen.
she's only seen a U.S. map.
That's true.
That's why she was like, was that the U.S.? I've never seen this part of the map before.
To be fair, okay, I don't know what you guys are saying. Hold up. Just don't give up on me. Okay?
No, I'm giving up. Bye.
Oh, you can't see it. Okay. It's all my perspective. If I look at it the other way, it does connect.
If you
It's
look at
just
it backwards.
sideways. Listen, we can't all be winners.
We can't all be
And
winners.
we knew that I was never one of them. So
You know,
And I'm
I
slightly
felt
on the
like I was
spectrum,
doing the right thing by having a historically accurate map to this slide, and I am
No, you've
apparently
confused.
wrong.
You've confused it.
I've confused.
it is confused. Anyway,
We know what we're doing. This is the American education system.
Ooh, go back,
Clearly
Ray.
at work.
There you go. All right, Car, it's all you.
It's just my.
I'm still absorbing that last bit.
You know what? This
Okay.
is not fucking fair. I need it. I'm very sad.
So the story of Snippy. So I just
We
read
all
this.
know about.
Yeah,
Snippy.
absolutely.
All right. Animal mutilation was relatively unknown until 1967.
I'm not self-centered, you asshole.
Fuck your personal peppers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let that one sit for a moment.
That's funny.
I'll start again.
I'm sorry. Jamie. Family noir.
Jamie.
Shall I talk about the cattle mutilation?
The show is going to be full of personal jokes at this point.
All right, Car, you got it?
Do we got it?
You're
Are
good.
you guys good? Are you good?
I'm good.
Animal mutilation was relatively unknown until 1967, when the Pueblo chieftain published a story about a horse called Snippy that was mysteriously killed and mutilated in Alamosa, Colorado. On September 9th, 1967, Agnes King and her son Harry reportedly found the dead body of their 3-year-old horse. The horse's head and neck had been skinned and defleshed, and the body displayed cuts that to King looked very precise. No blood was at the scene, according to Harry, and there was a strong medicinal odor in the air. The story was republished by the wider press and distributed nationwide. This case was the first to feature speculation that extraterrestrial beings and unidentified flying objects were associated with mutilation. A subsequent investigation by Wadsworth Eyre for the Condon Committee concluded that there was no evidence to support the assertion that the horse's death was anyway associated with abnormal causes. When the Lewises phoned Alamosa County Sheriff Ben Phillips, he told them that the death was probably due to a lightning strike and never bothered to visit the site. Early press coverage of the case misnamed Lady as Snippy. Snippy was Lady's sire and belonged to Nellie's husband. Who's Nellie? Burl Lewis. Later, belonged to Nellie's husband, Burl Lewis. Later press coverage mentions that the horse had been shot in the rump. However, 2 students from Alamosa State College confessed to sneaking out into the pasture and shooting the horse several weeks after the case was publicized. And then Linda Moulton Howe came along.
Oh shit.
that was my radio voice.
Like Loved
You know,
it.
I think that I feel like we talked about this not that long ago. Somehow this came up. I don't remember where, when we were, what the deal was. But we did talk about this a little bit because the circumstances around Snippy were very strange. You know, like flies and birds not wanting to go by the site. And that was odd. In a normal carcass situation, that is not the case. So what is keeping birds away from a dead carcass? That's I think the biggest thing that jumped out to me. What about you guys? Because this is like a really big especially
So
like
this
if you know
is
your UFO history, I feel like this is a really big case. Like this is the beginning of whoa.
this is the first cattle mutilation in America that is documented, and we all know that since it's the first one in America, that's why it's significant. But the fact that this horse just dropped dead, and kind of like we talked about, how like the missing skin, the organs missing, this kind of played into the beginning of this. And it's weird. This is why I'm like on the fence about cattle mutilations being something natural or something supernatural or something human involved, is because a lot of people who look at this have never gone into a pen or a pasture with an animal that weighs 1,200 pounds or that weighs 900 pounds and tried to inflict their own will upon that animal. That doesn't work. They don't give a shit what you want, what you think. They will quickly realize they are bigger than you, stronger than you, and they will just do whatever they want. Which is why I have a hard time believing that somebody just walks into these cattle pastures and does the things that happens with these mutilations without getting gored by a cow or a bull or a steer or something else. It's really hard to believe if you've ever been around these animals.
Yeah, and the no blood part to me is always weird. Like the animal's been drained. I remember an investigator, and I don't remember who it was. It wasn't Linda Moulton Howe.
But I thought there were no other investigators. There was only Linda Moulton Howe.
What's that other guy's name? Is it Sikowski? There's a fuck. Is it Sikowski? Does that sound familiar to you guys? I can't think of his fucking name. Mark Sikowski? Something like that. He's a big investigator as well. And I believe when he was looking into this, they were saying that it almost looked as if the horse was dropped like 10 feet from like above air. Like however it was, they figured that out. I don't know, I'm not a fucking scientist. But opposed to like the body, like whatever happened being there or dragged or placed, that it looked like the body had been dropped like 10 feet above ground. That is oddly suspicious.
So that plays into, and I want everybody to stay till the end because I'm going to give you an update on the recent cattle mutilation near me. That specific thing plays into what happened, and I'm going to give a detailed. I got as much information as I could before today's show. I got more investigation to do on this, but you guys are going to love the information that I'm going to give you.
I think that when you do that, you should also start from the beginning, because I think you talked about the cattle mutilation maybe on the episode that you had with Kari, and that was the one that was taken down and I was not there for.
No, I was sent this information after our episode.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So you would have to start from the beginning. You got to tell us everything. Yep. Okay, so we know this is like the beginning. This is, well, at least on US soil, this is the beginning of like this weird cattle mutilation scenario.
Snippy's the first.
This is gross. So yeah, this is the time period in the 70s. This is starting in December 4th, 1973.
I spy
There
Jerry.
were oh yeah, actually oh wow. Yeah, I do too. Bitches. So in this time period, there were a wave of cattle mutilations that hit about 7 counties between Arkansas and Nebraska. And then a few weeks later, it jumped to 38 cattle deaths, around 11 counties.
That's a lot.
And it's a lot. I mean, one or two, this was obviously something that, like, the second it started, just went like, bam. And so then when the local law enforcement agencies investigated, they kept finding it was the same type of things that were happening. It was the cow's ears, eyes, rectum, sex organs. And the biggest thing that stuck out to them was that it was like precision cuts, like surgical precision cuts. And all of the animals had blood drained from the body. And in all cases, there weren't any footprints or tire marks, anything that indicated that a human was involved in leading up to where the body was found. So in Arkansas, the law enforcement came out and said this is probably just cultists. And there wasn't really any backing on that. The only other thing that they had were that several of the carcasses, when they did the autopsy, it indicated that the animals died of blackleg, which is a cattle disease. Nasty. So this is an infectious bacterial disease where the bacteria releases a toxin that penetrates the tissue, so the tissue dies. So the animals that usually get blackleg will die within 12 hours with visible symptoms. And that happens worldwide, and it happens to sheep, goats, things like that, and occasionally farmed bison and deer. But I don't know. So the thing with blackleg is obviously there's blood dripping. You can tell that the bacteria was attacking the flesh and eating at it.
This particular picture is actually what it is it's after they've removed all of the infected tissue. This is what's left over.
But so there's still blood.
Well, no, yeah.
I'm saying
no. So this isn't the disease left this hole. This was a human left this hole by cutting out the disease.
Yeah, they cut out the disease.
So I think what a lot of people, they see this picture, and I thought it was important to put in here. They see this picture and then they're like, oh, that looks a lot like cattle mutilations, how like the skin is missing. And it's like, well, wait a second. No, this specifically is done by a human. The disease itself doesn't do this. It just kills the tissue and then everything's dead. And then you actually don't know a cow has this disease unless you look at it under a microscope after the fact. Like you wouldn't be able to really visually like look at it and be like, oh, that's what it is. There's signs that happen that you start to, oh no, this is what's happening. And then later upon investigating the carcass and like doing an autopsy, then you realize that's what it died from. But you don't have this visible wound like this with this bacteria.
Right, but I don't think there would be any blood at all if it died from that.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
And so what I want to point out right now is what you're looking at on this cow right here. When you go to the grocery store and you go to the meat counter or the meat section to grab a sirloin or, pretty much anything but like a ribeye or a T-bone, all of your steaks actually come from the back leg of a cow. Every single one of your roasts come from a back leg of a cow. Because I broke down a deer that I shot earlier in the year, and that's how I learned that that's all where all these cuts come from. So all your rows and everything else like that come from the back leg. Your sirloins, your tri-tips, all that comes from the back leg, chop, all of it. So this is not conducive for the person who is trying to profit off of this animal, which is something that I want to reiterate over and over again when we talk about cattle mutilations and we talk about how it might be the owner trying to make more money or trying to make money off of their cow. They're literally sacrificing the parts that make them all of their money to do what? To have a newspaper article?
Right. No money goes to that.
Yeah.
At all. They'd pick a random part. Pick a paw. A paw.
Hoof.
It's pretty gross. Okay. 1974, up in Nebraska, in northeastern Nebraska, and then also in eastern South Dakota, there were more reports of cattle mutilations, but it was at the same time frame as a bunch of UFO sightings. And on August 20th, 1974, the Lincoln Journal-Star reported that there were strange, unidentified helicopters shining spotlights into the field. And those fields ended up being where some of these cattle mutilations were found. And the helicopter sightings became pretty much like a nightly occurrence. And so the ranchers just began shooting at everything that would fly over their land. So the National Guard had to warn its helicopter pilots to fly higher than normal altitude-wise so that these ranchers weren't just like blasting fire at them. I find it weird to think helicopters. Why helicopters? That's very interesting.
Well, let's talk about black helicopters.
Helicopters.
So the entire
before we do that, I found a clip. I think we covered it on Buttstock, but it's very relevant. It's only 15 seconds long, but it's very weird. Y'all want to see it?
It's bullshit. Yes.
Okay.
I remember that.
So you can see a light in the background, and the ranchers are in the background. And I don't know how they were moving that cow, because they're not going to be out there if there's a tornado or anything else that can throw a cow, a 1,600-pound animal like that.
That comes in with us. That doesn't look like it's just gravity. That looks like
it's thrown.
Right. How does that happen?
Looks very uncomfortable for that poor guy that was like half.
I wouldn't be surprised if that cow died from blunt force trauma after that, but
I'm sure she was fine.
Whatever.
So was it a black helicopter that did it?
Oh,
I just can't imagine a helicopter. I don't know. I mean, Tony, do you know the average weight of a cow by any chance?
1,600 pounds.
1,600 pounds. Okay. So like helicopters always have to think about their weight, right? Like
they can pick up 1,600 pounds.
But why? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No problem. No, a Black Hawk can pick up a 1,600-pound cow. A Chinook can pick up a 2,000-pound howitzer. It doesn't matter.
But
or a 4,000.
Does that mean though it would have? Are you saying though that means it has to be of military caliber, like in order to pick up that, like your average helicopter? Probably not fucking around like that.
No, not your average helicopter.
No, but all of these reports were specific, like these black military helicopters.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't just like, oh, your average. It wasn't like a news helicopter. They were like, oh, there was a news helicopter. They were saying like, oh, these are like black military, like like they didn't have writing on the side of them. They were blank.
Right, and that brings us to the subject of black helicopters. Unfortunately, in the entire
so normal
decade I was in the U.S. Army, I never saw a helicopter that wasn't black. They're all black. The Army paints their helicopters black. The Navy paints their helicopters gray. Coast Guard paints their helicopters white and red because nobody cares about them. But every Army helicopter is painted black. It doesn't matter. This is one of the things when I first started noticing it. I was like, well, all the helicopters are painted black. So why are black helicopters like
such a big deal?
Yeah, like a thing, right?
I think people like over conspiratize with the black helicopter phenomena.
Yeah, and one of the things with black helicopters is they're almost exclusively seen at night. You're not going to see any markings because it's night. You can't see any markings on a white helicopter at night. Sorry, you're just not going to see it.
True.
But this does kind of go into what we're going to go in next with government involvement.
I mean, I saw Joe ask a good question. What would they do with a cow? They're just trying to create movements, you know?
Movements.
That's a good one, Kari.
So government involvement. This really came up in the 90s. If some of you remember, I don't know how many people will, but mad cow disease was a really big thing in the 90s.
Oh, we had it here in the early 2000s. It was awful. Like, I remember seeing on the news, they burnt like every cow in basically the UK. It was freaking weird. You could smell it. Like, you go outside, you could smell it.
You could smell barbecue.
Yep.
But in the 90s, there was this really huge fear that mad cow disease was spreading throughout the cattle population in the United States, and that it would spread to people like it was their COVID or Ebola or whatever you want to call it, right? They were super scared of it. Mad cow disease kind of came about because they were feeding cows feed that had ground up cow in it.
Oh!
So, like,
I've heard about this.
It was.
I heard about that.
What's wrong with them?
This kind of relates to like the whole Wendigo thing, where like eating your own kind turns you into like a mindless monster.
Yeah. Oh, that's great fucking connection, Tony.
This is like a scientific backup of it because they were grinding up dead cows and including that in their feed to give them protein to make them fatter and bigger and more muscle because that sold more beef.
Oh, yeah,
and unfortunately, it created mad cow disease, and that just started spreading all over the place. But the idea behind the government involvement is that the government was taking samples of cattle all across the country to see if mad cow disease was spreading in America. Because, like I said, there was a huge fear that it would jump species into us because we consume so much cattle.
Don't you guys think that it would be more reasonable for the government to go to farmers and say, hey, can we test one of your animals to make sure that they don't have mad cow disease, opposed to trying to do this clandestine operation in the middle of the night and leave the carcass there and freak you out? Doesn't that sound like that would make more sense?
It would make more sense, but like I said, this correlates with the black helicopters flying around and kind of like, creating these cattle mutilations.
One thing we've seen for sure, and I know Jamie and I have actually witnessed, is in a UFO sighting, a Black Hawk showing up out of nowhere to chase them out. And I'm
Yeah,
sure everyone else
absolutely.
knows that as well. So just to like always think, we come up with some possible explanations, but then also to play devil's advocate, we all know that like when UFOs are detected, it's not out of the ordinary for a helicopter to pop up and be like, "What the fuck are you doing here, bro?"
Yeah, and I think something that kind of accelerated this idea was there was one or two X-Files episodes in the 90s that dealt with cattle mutilations, and it really dug into like the government trying to genetically manipulate the cattle and these black helicopters, and I think that kind of led people to take it further than it was.
I think you're conflating episodes there. So there was an episode called Red Mass. I think it's like season 2.
Nerd
Where
alert!
so there's a few episodes about like
Season 2.
food manipulation, food production. I
Freemason.
don't think they ever did a cow mutilation episode.
They did
There
a
is
cow
one
mutilation episode.
there's one that deals with manipulate like GMO cattle, but that is more to do with like an alien cult in the town. It's not actually to do with the cattle. It's just like a side plot. Like the people that owned the land were in a plane crash, and then they find the chemicals they were doping up the cows with. But
You're gonna
they're
be
never
in a
mutilated.
It's the same story.
Like, don't.
It
I
still
know
feeds
my
the same
X-Files.
story,
They
actually.
didn't do that.
Well, yeah, no, they didn't. I'm pretty sure they did. Don't worry, we'll talk about this later.
Ooh.
No, we'll go 12 rounds on that later. It's fine.
12 rounds. You guys, I wish you guys knew how many hours goes into just the backstage area between Kari and Tony's nerd talk. Like,
Yes, I came
you
in
would
as
think
all that
that
was
they
going
were
on and I wanted
live.
to
You would
leave.
think that they were live having an episode, but it's not. It's just like
Just us talking.
We have to practice so that when we do our segments on the Thursday show, it's not 6 hours long with a lot of copyright stuff. Yeah.
But I think that
Smile.
I think that to Tony's point, it still feeds this conspiracy that the government would want to do something conspiratorial with the cows. Like that's giving more reason for them.
We're going to get
to be
into this
involved.
more. Don't worry.
Yes.
We're going to get into this when we get to the explanations part of the episode.
I am
Yep.
just
All right,
a floating mouth.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's my turn.
I
Colts.
have spoken.
So, Colts became to blame for the mutilations around the 50s and 60s, and the hippies were actually the first group to be accused of being the culprits. You have to remember that this was a time when a lot of attention was being given to the counterculture, like the people interested in non-traditional religions, like the cosmic consciousness and meditation and stuff. So of course people are like, oh, it was them. But shortly after that, the Church of Satan was opened up in San Francisco, and they were immediately the culprits of what was happening. And a perfect example is to the left of this picture right here. There's actually an actual article from the New York Times. I'm going to read it to you real quick. And it says, law enforcement officials and cattlemen are investigating numerous mutilation killings of cattle throughout northern Texas and Oklahoma that some say may be the works of Satanist cults. More than 50 mutilations have been reported in 12 rural surrounding counties to the Dallas metropolitan area. The animals have been drained of blood, and the sex organs, lips, and ears have been removed. I think when all this thing shakes down, we'll find out it's cults, said John Dunn, president of the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association. This thing will probably end up with a vernal equinox with the same day as Easter. The first reported finding of mutilated animals in Texas was last November 13th when a rancher, J.R. Allison of Olney, about 125 miles west of here, discovered a 600-pound bull that had been mutilated. After they began killing them for the blood and sex organs, and they are probably saving the stuff up for their ceremonies on Easter, Mr. Dunn said. His association has offered a $1,000 reward for information concerning the mutilations. What's interesting about this is there was nothing factual in this article about how or why it could be cults. It was literally just some dude being like, oh, it's the cults.
It's them.
And so beliefs held by proponents of the cult hypothesis vary, but they include that the apparent absence of blood at the mutilation site indicates cult members would have harvested it, that the organs have been removed from cattle to use in rituals, and that unborn calves have been harvested from mutilated cattle, again, for their rituals. And that's their proof that it's cults.
That's just ridiculous. We all know, especially like R.I.P. to Anton LaVey, the founding father of the Church of Satan there in San Francisco. We all know that that is the exact Satanist group that for sure says, like, do not harm other living things. Like, they would not do that.
Right, but you also
That's,
have
like,
to you have to remember that this happened during the Satanic Panic.
Yep.
Oh,
What
yeah,
is,
I
what
know.
is
It's
now
just like,
called the Satanic Panic, where anything that happened, any psychopath, any sociopath, any serial killer was a Satanist who was praying to the devil and killing for the devil, which, wasn't what they were doing, but that's who was blamed for it.
it's just like the ignorance level is very high. It's just looking for someone to blame. Something other than aliens, bring it back down to earth, point to the Satanists.
There's a lot of that going around where people just blame other people
Still,
for shit for no
to this
reason.
day, I swear sometimes every time we
Funny
take three
that.
steps forward, we take 3 steps back. And we see these circles that we're doing. And I think we're in another circle. I think we're in another phase of satanic panic right now.
Yeah.
At least from the,
in a certain way. Sorry.
from the right, the far right.
Yeah. Tony.
The right.
What's next?
All right, next one. It's you,
Well,
Tony.
I've never seen me without glasses because I can't fucking see. So
Exactly.
It's great.
Lab results.
See, I'm not wearing them, so I don't have to focus. I don't have to watch anything.
So, laboratory reports carried out on some mutilated animals have shown unusually high or low levels of vitamins or minerals. So, you got to take into effect that both of those are significant, whether they have unusually high levels or low levels of minerals, because that can relate to different diseases or things. I don't know what happened. What the fuck are you laughing at?
Yeah, wait, why are we laughing?
Just the wonderful complexities of life. That's why I'm laughing at.
Oh, good. Great.
And
presence of chemicals not normally found in animals. However, not all mutilated animals display these anomalies. And those that do have slightly different anomalies from one another. This is why it's a phenomenon, right? Because there's no sequence to it. It's all random. And those that do have slightly different anomalies from one another on account of the time between death and necropsy and a lack of background information on specific cattle, investigators have often found it is impossible to determine if these variations are connected to the animal's deaths or not. In one case, documented by New Mexico police and the FBI, an 11-month-old crossed Hereford Charolais drink, because I said that wrong, bull.
Should we also start drinking for when things are spelled wrong? Just wondering.
Yes.
I mean, you could. I guess you could.
That might be fun.
Did I spell results wrong?
No.
I spelled something wrong.
Yes.
It displays. Oh, I hate
it's
you.
Dices.
Dices.
Dices. Hella
So,
Dices.
belonging to Mr. Manuel Gomez of Dulce, New Mexico, was found mutilated March 24th, 1978. It displayed classic mutilation signs, including removal of rectum and sex organs, with what appeared to be a sharp and precise instrument. And in its internal organs were found to be inconsistent with normal cases of death followed by predation. So both the liver and heart were white and mushy. So this is where it gets really weird.
Fuck your personal memes.
Fuck them. The liver and heart. What?
Sorry. I said lizard.
Bomb.
So the liver and heart were white and mushy. Both organs had the texture and consistency of peanut butter. So says it Gabriel Valdez of the New Mexico Police. The animal's heart, as well as bone and muscle samples, were sent to the Los Alamos. It's getting serious. Laboratory for microscopic and bacteriological studies, while samples from the animal's liver were sent to 2 separate private laboratories. Whilst animals detected the presence of naturally occurring Clostridium bacteria in the heart, but was unable to reach any conclusion because of the possibility the bacteria represented a post-mortem contamination, which, I mean, that's a very fair thing to come across. Samples from the animal's liver, however, were found to be completely devoid of copper, which is important because that would be in the animal's natural diet, and to contain 4 times the normal levels of zinc, potassium, and phosphorus. So unless whatever pasture it was on was heavily fertilized, like beyond the normal of what you would fertilize a pasture and put animals on, like if you were building like a really cool lawn, you would have zinc, potassium, and phosphorus and no copper. The fact that the animal had no copper is a little weird. And then it's the only one that did. Were unable to explain these anomalies. Blood samples taken at the scene were reported to be light pink in color and did not clot for several days. While the animal's hide was found to be unusually brittle for a fresh death, which is also important, the animal was estimated to have been dead for 5 hours, and the flesh underneath was found to be discolored. None of the laboratories were able to report any firm conclusions on the cause of blood or tissue damage. At the time, it was suggested that a burst of radiation may have been used to kill the animal, blowing apart its red blood cells in the process. This hypothesis was later discarded as subsequent reports from the Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory later confirmed the presence of anticoagulants in samples taken from other cows mutilated in the region. But it's important to note that they weren't taken from that cow, just other cows in the region, not the cow that they studied.
That's not fair, Zotar. That doesn't make sense. That's not fair.
It's kind of a difficult thing to go over, right? Because you have this cow that is dead, that has all these issues, and then all the things that happen to it. But it's exhibiting issues related to like radiation exposure.
Mm-hmm. Like we see in the crop circles, the legitimate ones at least.
Yeah, and for it to have only been dead for 5 hours and have
which,
you know, these things that are wrong with it.
Anytime you mention like Dulce or Los Alamos, I'm like, Spidey sense. Even if we want to say that there's nothing at Dulce, I still feel like there is.
I might get to go to Dulce.
I know, I'm so jealous. So jealous.
Hope I do.
I fucking hope that you do. That would be like, you know, whether or not we want to believe that there are levels and levels down there.
I'm gonna fly a drone around and be like, "Is there a base here? Is there a base there?
Is there?
Oh no, it's just a bunch of sycophants.
But you couldn't.
No, it
you
makes
couldn't.
sense.
You couldn't use a drone. You would need like a drill that went underground, so you could like scan underground. Like, ooh, those
Right.
things that they used to
No,
look
I'd
for
go
dead
around looking for like
bodies.
little air vents and shit, you know? Like,
Oh, you could do
Like,
that
how
too.
funny is it that they're like, oh yeah, this is.
Oh wait, but they're aliens. They don't breathe air.
I
I appreciate the compliment, but I will never live up to Lemmy. Oh, Lemmy. So no.
It's funny they're like, this could be the result of radiation
I'm gonna cut my
blowing
own fingers
apart
off.
red blood cells, and they're like, oh well, we found cows that didn't have this.
You leave Phil alone.
Yeah.
I'm
He
talking to
cut his
Carrie.
own fingers off.
It doesn't matter.
Can we
He's
all,
not the
can we all
He's
agree?
not the only one that talked
Yeah.
about Dulce, though. So,
Okay,
like,
but he's
whether or
the
not
one that said
did
he had a
that-
shootout with grey aliens that shot his fingers off when it turned out he was was committed in a mental institution and cut his own fingers off.
In the
I'm gonna
lore,
cut your fingers off.
in
at
the
contact
lore
time.
of ufology,
It
the
has
fire
nothing to do with cattle
fight
mutilation.
is.
I'm
Can
gonna
use
make
them to
you-
go fuck yourself.
I'm gonna make you hold me at night, and then I'm gonna cut off your fingers.
I just want you guys to know how
I'm not
hard
going
it
to
is.
hold you at night. I'm
You
not
It's
gonna
very
are.
hard. For
I'm the
me.
little
not.
spoon.
I'm gonna
To
hold both of
accept-
you at night.
Can't
I'm
be
the
that
I'm
bad.
giant
I'll
spoon.
sleep out on the balcony. It's fine. Don't worry.
It's fun. Anyway, who knows? Okay.
I value my
believe you.
digits, you know?
Okay,
Phil's
next
dad
problem.
was an Operation Paperclip, so like kind of sketch from the start.
So?
A Nazi?
Let Tony get back on track.
Can we get to modern cases? Can we talk
Yeah.
about cows
Sorry, you want to
dying?
bring up Dulce? We're like, Kari and I feel like we
Feral.
always battle about some of these things all the time. All right.
It's because you're wrong all the time.
Oh my god.
Hi, Corey.
Modern cattle mutilations. Look, we have a modern cow right here with
He's
ear
missing a hat.
tags.
All right, where's the fucking Jerry in this?
I didn't put one in this.
It's in the cow's butt.
So modern
Correct.
cases in South America, an estimated 3,500 incidents have occurred since 2002, when around 400 cases were reported. So if that tells you, I'm going to get to that kind of ratio here after a minute here. But mutilation investigators assert that a large number of cases are never reported to authorities. There's a reason for that. Perhaps no more than 1 in 10. In the summer of 2019, 5 bulls were mutilated in who the fuck named this? Sylvia's Valley Ranch, Oregon. It is estimated that each 2,000-pound bull was worth $6,000. The FBI has made no comment on whether or not there's an investigation on this particular event, but the Valley Ranch offered a $25,000 reward on the topic.
I'd just like to ask, since these cows don't have hooves, were they a victim of mutilation?
They all have hooves. What are you talking about?
Not in this picture.
Those ones don't. They're just pretty. Look at them.
Okay. I'm just
They're
wondering
pretty
if they were
cows.
mutilated.
They're cabal cows. It's fine.
They are.
Cabal cows.
All right, Brie, give me the next one.
Oh. All right.
So,
Tony,
That's
please
not the
start
next
from the
one.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Are you done with this segment?
Yep. So I can start on this.
Yeah, please do.
So, bring up those pictures.
Bring up the baby's hooves.
Ooh.
Bring up the baby.
Oh, wait,
Ew,
hold on. So sorry. There we go.
Ew, I got.
Okay, so from left to right, what you are seeing is a 375-pound calf who died
Calf.
somewhere between March 12th and March 13th.
Send
So
it.
this calf is currently now dead. Nothing has eaten on that body so far as I know to this date. So it's been
That's
almost
wild.
3 weeks. And you see in the middle picture that the back, that would be the back left leg, is completely severed and gone. The back right leg that you see in the middle picture that is severed but still there is hanging on by a thread. What makes this interesting is that would be the right ear is missing, but there seems to be like a scab there on this calf. Now, where this gets really weird is this calf was checked on the day before, which would have been a Sunday. And then on Monday, somewhere around 4 or 5 p.m., this calf was in this state.
Interesting.
Originally, I tweeted that this calf was shot and there was no blood. What I found out was it was still alive when they found it.
Oh, shit.
So
that's fucked up.
The rancher, this is actually his son's calf. So he is trying to give the ranch over to his son and helping him to raise his own cattle and everything. So this is his son's calf, and his son discovered it. And this is the state it was in. And he told me that his son said, "Dad, it's trying to get up."
Oh.
Because it was still alive. And when they went over there to inspect it, it started moving again and tried to get up. So his dad shot it. Because obviously you would do that. Put this animal out of its misery, right? And he shot it, and they moved the carcass because they don't want it around the rest of the cattle, right? And there was no blood after they shot it.
What?
There was no blood on the ground. It wasn't bleeding. And this is a living animal.
That's
I have
odd.
shot living animals. And you do not get no blood after shooting a living animal, even after what has happened here. So one of the explanations that I've been given, because I went on a tirade and talked to several ranchers around the area. And what one of them told me was 15 years ago, he found one of his own cattle mutilated, udders removed, vagina removed, eyes removed. And then I was talking to another rancher, and he said, well, yeah, in the mid-90s, which just happened to align with 15 years prior to what the other rancher told me, there was a string of cattle mutilations just west of me where they thought it was maybe a cult or like a satanic cult or a witch cult that were mutilating cattle. And then I started talking to the first rancher I was talking to, and I was like, hey, what about these mutilations in the 90s? And he was like, what I really think is happening is they're tranquilizing these animals to get them calm enough so that they can approach them, and then they're mutilating these animals. So like he thinks that there's somebody is somehow going around tranquilizing cows, removing these parts of their bodies. Because you have to understand that ranchers depend on these animals living. A full-grown cow, you go to the store, you buy a pound of ground beef, it's $9. What do you think the 1,700-pound animal is worth? You buy filet mignon, you buy a pound of filet mignon for $25. What do you think the rest of that backstrap is worth?
And here's another thing you have to understand about cattle ranchers too, is like, you don't understand, they get paid once a year. It's not like they have an unlimited supply of cows that they're selling off all year long. That's not how the industry works. There's a season for it, and it's these big giant auctions that happen, and they're paid once a year. So if they're doing something to their herd, they're literally taking their only profit out of the year. It's not like, oh, we can recuperate that later. No, the cow lives until a certain age, and then it gets set off for slaughter, and then that's it, period, end of story.
Yes. And they're spending thousands of dollars on feed and everything else. It's not a high profit margin, especially for ranchers who aren't part of like the 4 companies who own the entire beef cattle industry, but the ranchers who are just trying to make a living. And these are the people that I'm talking to. That calf is an $800 calf before it has offspring. So you're not counting the offspring. You're not counting that calf. That's $800 as it is, not the $5,000 it is, because that's a red Angus. Once it's full grown and is slaughtered, and then its child that reaches maturity has a child and then is slaughtered. So you have to understand the economic impact that slaughtering a calf has. And the fact that it was alive.
Yeah,
it was really alive in this state.
Yeah, that's the part that really got me, because what's interesting about it is you don't hear about people finding them, I guess, so soon, whereas the animal is still alive. This is the first time I've heard of an animal having these kind of injuries and it being alive when it happened, because I think a lot of people assume when you're investigating cattle mutilations that all of this is happening after the cow is dead, because that's why it's not bleeding and that's why you're not having like a blood flow. But this is the exact opposite. Like, if there was an incision and it was alive, it would have to bleed unless its blood was already pre-clotted.
Like, it's mostly gone. And this is... So what I did after I learned that this cow was alive, in this state, like in these pictures, it's still alive. He took the pictures and then the cow tried getting up. And I was like, oh shit. And then they shot the cow. So I was talking to Brandon Fugel and I sent him these pictures. And then later on, I was like, holy shit, dude, the cow was alive in these pictures. Like, they had to kill it. And because they had the cattle death on Skinwalker Ranch, he was like, are you fucking serious? I was like, yeah, it was alive. This is a live calf. It doesn't look like a live calf, but this is a live calf. This is why this specific story is just, it's blowing my mind. And this calf, to my knowledge, to this day, has still not been fed on by the coyotes, the vultures, the cougars, or any of the other predatory animals around here that we have. It's still intact.
That's the weird part for me.
Yeah, Tony's over here name dropping like the boomer he is.
I am.
All right, anything else on this one? Are we ready for the explanations?
That's it.
All right, give us the explanations, Bree.
That's a weird one.
All right, so we're going to start off right at the top with natural causes. So some of the things that they've come up with. So like if there's a missing or mutilated mouth, lips, anus, or genitalia, they explain it as contraction of missing and damaged areas due to dehydration. The actions of small scavengers and burrowing parasites seek to enter or consume the body in areas where the skin is the thinnest. When there is missing eyes or soft internal organs, it's explained as the action of corrosion-feeding insects, such as blowflies, which you see right here next to Jerry. There's also opportunistic things like birds and vultures, which are known to direct themselves toward the animal's eyes and enter the body through the openings of the mouth and anus in order to feed off the soft internal organs. If there is an absence of blood, it's explained as the blood pooling in the lowest points of the body where it'll break down into the basic organic components. Blood that is external to the body or in the area of a wound being consumed by insects or reduced by solar heat, by solar wind, solar rays. The surgical incisions in the skin are explained as tears in the skin created when they're stretched by postmortem bloat and or as dehydration. Incisions caused by scavengers and predators, possibly exacerbated by the above, which is the bloating. So like it was a small little nick, but then the body bloating ripped it open and made it bigger. And so to our eyes, it looked like surgical, where it was just like a clean rip happening. And so that's just kind of like they've decided there's all of these different explanations that are natural causes, and they're all not connected, and but all of them are going on within these cattle mutilations. Give me the next one, Brie. Okay. So next we have human intervention. The bulk of mutilations are the result of a natural process, but those that have weird anomalies that they can't explain, they say that it is a human factor, meaning that a human either derives pleasure or sexual stimulation from hurting the animal.
Back off.
And then we also have government intervention, and some speculate that cattle mutilations to be a result of covert research into emerging cattle diseases and the possibilities that they could be transmitted into humans. And others claim the government is testing biological weapons on cattle.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's the only one that makes sense to me out of everything. Next, we now have aliens and UFOs. So in 1974, a few months after the first of the alleged mutilations in the U.S., multiple farmers in Nebraska claimed to witness UFOs on the nights that their cattle were harmed. It's now common that most cattle mutilations have some sort of UFO that was seen either before, during, or after the mutilation event. And it's just like, this is the classic now. Like, as you can see, like this, one of the billions of clip arts that are now out there.
I've just noticed that your name says Mood USA, and now I can't unsee it.
Love it. All right, the last one of the explanation is the cryptids, and most local folklore always points to the mutilations being chupacabras or similar animals to chupacabras, which are the bloodsuckers, which is why they are associated with these cattle mutilations, because all of them are lacking blood. So of course, it has to be the local bloodsucker.
Right.
Well. Well.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we? That's the end.
That's the end.
Can we discuss some of these really quickly?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's helpful. Jesus. Okay, so let's start with the medical explanation. The one that sticks out to me the most is that it was just the gases in the body that then, naturally implode and it rips. Now, do you guys think that it makes sense? I'm not, again, a scientist, so like I might say in my mind it doesn't make sense for it to be a clean rip, but
it does to me in all
honesty. Where's the blood?
So you'd be surprised, when whales beach and then they bloat, like they decompose and bloat and then.
Right, but we're talking about the incision. So like,
I think that there's
that part makes sense, but not for it to still stay a clean
I think
cut.
I think that there's different versions of it. So I think what you have with the whales is a very large amount of a gas buildup and then a bursting that happens. Whereas maybe with some of these smaller animals that don't have as much gas inside of them, you're having a more slower. So instead of it popping open, you're having think about, Brie, like when you rip a shirt, right? Like you can rip it and it's like a nice, clean, perfect tear. Exactly. So you would have to imagine that skin is going to be able to rip that same fucking way.
Although we know that cows do contain a lot of gas.
A lot of
methane.
So I don't know. I don't really buy that.
But if it's released slowly and not quickly, and it's slowly floating, and again, you have to remember that in order for this to happen, for that theory to be a natural cause, there had to have been some sort of nick or incision already, whether that be from like a wound that was already there or an animal coming in and biting it, but there had to have been something already there in order for that stretch and rip to even happen. So it's not just like, oh, gas happened and then it exploded. There had to have been a cut there already. And maybe that's the difference between the whales and the cows, because the cows, maybe there's a little incision, which is why you get that rip. Whereas with the whales, you're getting more of a burst because there's not anything to let it start escape slowly.
So do you think that it could be, okay, no, let's skip that next one. Oh man, hold on. Let me the natural causes things gets me. Government or military involvement. Let's discuss that really quick. I want to hear your thoughts.
You liked the theory of the government possibly testing weapons of mass destruction on cattle population. And I actually like this one myself. It's also my favorite theory when it comes to Dyatlov Pass, which I think is like my big number one. And I think that, yeah, the government is probably 100% out there testing things. They did when they were testing fucking nuclear bombs and didn't tell anyone fucking about it until years later. So like, I think that the only theory that makes the most sense to me personally is, yes, it's the government testing something out, and these are the ramifications of whatever weird thing they're doing.
However, why come through and steal precision parts to test things on? The government has a huge stash of cash. It would cost them more money to try to do these weird clandestine operations.
Because here's what you have to
buy a fucking cow and
here's what you have to understand. What they're not trying to do is test it inside of a lab to see if it works. They're trying to test it on a big scale, pointing it out in the middle of fucking nowhere to see if it does anything. And
which they can do.
Well, they yes and no. I think
where do they fly weird craft in the middle of fucking nowhere? But they can buy a goddamn lot in Nebraska.
I think, but maybe it's easier and cheaper to them just go out there and fucking try it though, because until you know if you're working, or to me it does, because especially if you're working and tweaking something, you're not spending money replenishing all those cows. You're the government. You're going out there and fucking killing shit, being, oh, that doesn't work, and then you go back to the fucking drawing board. Like, you're not wasting time, money, energy, and resources. Like, because you have to imagine the amount of land you have to buy to have all the cows on, the amount of money you're spending feeding it, the amount of people you're hiring to take care of these things. The government doesn't want to take all of those things on. So it's a lot bigger of something on their shoulders than just going out there and blasting somebody's fucking cows, hoping that nobody notices. They sprinkle it. They do it every few years, so it looks like it's something that's mysterious. But you know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, like, it happens, you sprinkle it about. There was a big wave of it where they fucking did it a bunch, and they were like, all right, we've got to calm down now. We can't do it again. Then you have another wave where they're like, all right, we're testing the next phase of it. Let's see what this fucking does. In my opinion, that is the most solid theory out of everything we've talked about.
Well, I'll say it makes more. So what Jamie's talking about makes more sense. And the reason why it makes more sense, if you want to train people to infiltrate an area and do something like that, to make that big of a noise among a herd of cattle and people who will wake up if there's like coyotes or mountain lions, something's disturbing their way of life, and you can infiltrate into that and kill something and then exfil out of it without them ever knowing you were there, you're doing so much better than everybody else is in that situation.
That does make sense to me. Okay, so let's just play on your guys' theory here for just this slide for this second. How could them going in and surgically removing certain parts from a cow then make that cow lose so much blood and leave some type of remnants on the cow or whatever for vultures, flies, I mean, coyotes?
I don't think anybody's coming in. I don't think anybody's coming in and doing anything surgical to anything. I think that they're using a giant weapon from far away, and that whatever you are seeing is the results of said weapon. Whether it be maybe radiation. And so what you have is the skin blistering and opening. And the reason that you don't have blood is because the radiation literally boiled all of it. Like, who knows what the weapon it is that they're using? I don't think it's somebody going in and like surgically like killing a cow and like testing some weapon on them with like their hands and doing something. I think that they're using some big mass wave like boom thing from far away, like as far as they can go, trying to see how far their target reaches out to.
And that is why the laser was inserted into the intro video. So, do you think that the whatever device that they're using then has some weird thing that keeps animals off? Because animals will still come to an area that still has a high radiation level.
So I think that that's the thing. We don't know what kind of weapon it is that's doing this kind of stuff to it. It's literally not something we can imagine, or a weapon that we have that could do anything like this. So I think that it lies in inherently that fact of like when you have animals that don't go to places that like don't grow grass or plants or stuff like that. Animals know not to go there, right? They're like, they know something's wrong. So I would just assume it's animal instinct of knowing like, okay, there's something wrong. Yeah, this is not right.
Don't
like,
eat the beef.
Or like when you're out and then like all of the wildlife disappears and gets up and runs and you're like, I don't know what's happening, but like they know that like exactly. So I think it'd be more something like that.
The magnetic changes in the atmosphere and things.
Yeah, and especially animals are very susceptible to magnetic differences. So what if they're using some type of a magnet device and that's why these animals are staying away from it, because it's emitting some sort of a magnetic field.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we should go into the
Kari, do you have any thoughts?
Fact or Sifi?
Well, I mean animal cruelty and animal. I
was thinking maybe it could be like a medical institute, like, but then I doubt they really have that much of a shortage of certain cow parts. So like, I doubt it's
cadavers. Or
I was just thinking about like grave robbers back in the 1800s would do similar shit, right? They'd take certain body parts or whatever to experiment, or entire cadavers to go and experiment. So who knows?
I don't know. So like all of our theoretical things that the government could be doing though, we obviously haven't seen any fruit of that.
Not that we know of. Yeah.
You know, now that like I'm deeper into the conspiracy thing, I think that in the beginning of my road, I used to think that the government was just like capable of everything and anything. And there's like a part of me that's like dying with that, because we're still stuck in like the 1930s, I feel like. And we are in the times where those things should be flourishing, and they're not.
You're talking about technological advances and how us as a society,
just like the military, not society, but I feel like the military should be showing some force of that, and we're not seeing that.
Yeah, but that's what you have to understand. So I think what happened is like if you look at a graph of how technology has progressed, we've plateaued, and I don't think that necessarily we as a society have plateaued technologically. I think what's happened is instead of creating new technology, we're just improving the technology that's already been created. So new technology isn't being created. One, we're just improving what we already have. And then number two, I think that a lot of things that the government has are 100% under wraps and not people don't know about. So I think that we're a lot more technologically advanced than we realize. It's just not public knowledge about a lot of these things.
I know.
Things that
I'm just thinking that we're in a time where they would show some type of force in that, especially like with biological welfare. I feel like in the past, at least in American history, we have always done that on people. And that's like, we're fucking around. We're doing that. But we don't have anything. I don't know. I'm just not seeing it, love.
Are you guys?
And cryptids? I don't know.
Fact or sci-fi cattle mutilations? Tony, we'll start with you.
We'll start with Bree.
Okay, Bree.
I'm gonna middle bitch this one. I think it is just as likely that it could be something alien as it could be governmental. However, I don't necessarily see the purpose. I'm gonna back myself out of this. I don't really see the purpose of an alien species doing this. Unless it's like Mars Attacks and they're like taking bits and pieces of animals to create like half dog, half human. I don't know. That's weird to me. Although you could also connect that to abductions and like what they take from them. So maybe. So again, I'm gonna be a solid middle bitch on this from both sides.
All right, Kari.
Eleanor Roosevelt was far too fond of chintz.
Chintz?
That's a quote from. It's a quote from Mars Attacks. But
I love
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with fact because we just saw a shitload of photos of dead cows. So it's obviously happening, right? So
sure, I forgot.
I don't know why. I don't know why, but it's definitely happening. So
that's
will
true.
We ever
My
know?
bad.
I don't know.
Should I change that? Yes, I think cattle mutilations are happening. It's okay. In my head, I'm facting whether or not it's alien or not. So I guess
that's your problem. Yeah.
So, okay. I fact that it's happening. I'm middle bitch whether or not this is an alien issue.
Gotcha.
All right. I'm going to 100% fact this because, yes, as Kari pointed out, we're obviously seeing it happening. It's real. And I'm also going to fact that I think it's the government.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you don't think that aliens have anything to do with cattle mutilation?
Absolutely not. I think that aliens are far too advanced to give a shit about cutting out the eyeballs of cattle. That sounds so stupid to me. Like, of all the things that aliens could do, you could tell you guys, people come up with lots of
Why would they
like,
take people? Why would they
cutting
take
off
people,
their
though?
faces?
It's like the
why
butt
would
probe.
they steal people?
Yeah,
then?
it's like
then
cutting out the anuses of cows just is not an alien thing to me in any way, shape, or form. This is something that's government. Period. End of story. This is government. Tony,
I thought they had an overabundance of bullshit, but apparently they need more.
So I'll say up until a
Bree,
week
I think
ago,
you muted yourself.
You
I
muted,
did.
Bree?
I was gonna say that same argument. Then why would they take humans? Like, shouldn't we think of ourselves as also cattle? Like, that's always our argument. So then I almost feel like if we say that cattle mutilations are happening from aliens, why would abduction happen from aliens?
Right.
I think that that's completely different because you have something dead at the end of it where they're not obviously not killing humans.
Not in
I'm just saying.
case.
I think that I think that it might be different if they abducted the cows and then like hung out with it and then throw it back. Then like that's whatever. That's what they're doing to humans. But that's
what if that happens?
Like, I can't see.
I'm missing my anus. I can't live.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
I can't see aliens murdering a cow and being like, "Oh, I need this anus and these mouth holes." Like it seems so fucking weird to me. All right,
so
Tony,
much more tastier.
Tell me your.
Now I can't believe in abduction because that feels like an equal argument.
Tony, give me your number.
I'm gonna be honest. Up to a week ago, when this rancher texted me and started talking to me and sending me these pictures, and we went back and forth, the fact that this cow was still alive, like, and I talked to several other ranchers, I did not sleep that night. I was like, I have to know everything that I can know from everybody that I know that has hundreds and hundreds of cows. So I talked to some ranchers who have a lot of cattle, and they were all like, I've never seen anything like that. And then when I found out it was alive and told them, they're like, that's not normal. That just doesn't happen. So either a 1 in a million event happened, and somehow the cow's ear was magically sliced off in correlation with its leg being sliced off and its other leg being sliced in half. I'm gonna have to give this 100%. I'm not gonna say I know what did this, but something did this. But it is not like, it's not natural. I think it is a supernatural event that happened.
Ooh, okay.
but I'm not going to
Paranormal?
say I can. Yeah, paranormal, something outside the normal realm happened
Oh,
because
shit.
this calf's mother was in the same pasture as this calf, as well as the rest of the herd. And if you've ever been dumb enough to try
agree
to
with that.
grab a calf around its herd, you're going to hurt. You're going to be hurt.
You're gonna see some mad cow now.
You see some fucked up cow. I have
You,
my leather
you
whip
don't
here.
want a
Her name
1,600
was
pound
Sally.
animal smashing its 90-pound head into you. Like it's physics.
I recently learned that you can whip breed.
Yes, whip me, please. Tony, I
Who
was
knew
gonna
that you were
ask you.
secretly into BDSM, right? Who knew?
Ooh. Tony, I
I
was gonna
did.
ask
She's
you,
a Scorpio.
double Scorpio. Just kidding. I have like 6 Scorpio placements. Anyway, Tony, do you know of any weird cultish behavior in your area? Like, because okay, the whole hypothesis of someone that could be like tranquilizing these cows before could make sense, right? You know, and then they're like, and then you do what you want. That makes sense. But why? So do you know if there's any strange things like that happening in your area?
So the rancher I talked to who suggested that fully believes that there is some type of like satanic witch factor to this.
Of course.
But
He's
A
then
red
again,
state.
you have to understand where
A
these
red
people
state.
come from.
You gotta tell
you
him
have to-
if he just uses the name of Jesus, he'll save him.
You have to understand where these people are coming from because they have a field full of 100 cows that weigh 1,600 pounds. Who is going to go out and do this? Herd animals will protect themselves. They're designed and they're built to fend off wolves, mountain lions.
India.
Where does a 200-pound person fit against like a strength contest with a cow?
They don't.
That can throw you by moving its head up.
Unless
So
you're
you
a
don't believe the
sniper.
story?
Unless you're a sniper and you're like sniping tranquilizers from far away, like it's a covert mission and you're like in a tree and you're like pew pew, and then the cow goes down and then you run out to the field in your fake army uniform and you're like da na 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 na.
And you have to have a cape too.
Yeah.
Cape with Satan in the back. Like,
But then that just goes back to the whole human interaction thing where it's like it's just some weird creepy human doing some weird creepy shit they're getting off on. Like it's
This is an excellent point. Okay, so the whole thing about there not being cattle mutilations in India could be multiple scenarios. One, are there massive cow farms in India?
It's not that there's massive cow farms, it's just that cows run around completely freely.
That's because they're sacred, right?
They're sacred.
They're sacred.
They have no reason to fear people.
So then
so they're not like locked up. They're not like in a farm, like, but they're just kind of like all over the place. Like there's cows everywhere.
So then if it was alien or paranormal,
it would be happening there too.
Ooh.
Unless their God is the right God and is not punishing them.
Maybe they respect them.
They
what
do
if
respect the cows?
That's what I'm saying. What if it is on the same thing of like when you call in the name of Jesus, when the alien comes, they're like, we respect that. Like it's a respectable thing.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you didn't say this wasn't okay, so we're doing it, but you said it's not okay, so we're not going to do it.
I respect a bacon hamburger.
Listen, I think that just cows found a sacred home in India, and that's why most of them move there because they know that it's safe.
They moved there.
I will say, moved. I will say, if you go into a cattle pen for whatever reason, we're about to get more cattle at my in-laws, and if you go in there, there is a
that's no way to talk about your in-laws, Tony. That's mean.
No, they're not the cattle.
Or are they?
there is a funny correlation between slapping a cow in the neck. If it gets too close to you, they will jump back because they don't understand why something so small is attacking them.
They're like, you ant.
That's how
So
I
they
feel every time
don't
Brittany's around
get
me.
it. So
Why
they're
is something so
Don't
small
get it.
attacking me?
She wasn't
They're-
ready.
they're really dumb. Just never ever get into a
love
pen
curry.
with a bull.
I love curry too.
I have a idea for you
What?
Me?
to test this out because you guys are gonna have all these new cows in the area.
Mm.
What if we test the waters of the God theory? Can we just put like little neck? Can we make like little cow necklaces of like little crosses and put them on all the cows that you guys
Oh,
get to see?
and then the cows will
if
be
Jesus
safe because
saved
Jesus
them.
saved them.
Yeah, can we see if
That's
Jesus
what you should
saved
tell the
them or not?
rancher. Oh my God, Tony, please tell the rancher that he has to put like rosaries on all the cows in order to protect them.
That's not gonna
Or
happen.
you can
So
just you can brand John 3:16 on their side.
On their
and see what happens.
ass. Yeah. Oh my God, Brandon with upside down crosses.
it's not gonna work.
Oh, that's genius too. Do both. So okay, this is how you protect yourself and figure out if it has anything to do with God or Satanists. They wear the necklace with a cross. They also have a branding with an upside down cross, so they are protected from above and below. And then we see what happens.
No.
You know, I had a thought yesterday. You were talking about
Is it right hand,
you're
left
talking-
hand.
As
You're
above,
talking about-
still below.
I was
I
just
had a
trying to
thought
show somebody
yesterday,
how I'd
Bree.
finger them, but whatever.
You were
That was,
talking
like,
yesterday about
so
how
that was
your
on the
town,
that was the
how your
spectrum
town is
days.
like garlic based, and I had the thought like there must be no vampires in your town.
No one but me.
No, there's no vampires in Gilroy because it's the garlic capital of the world.
I had to explain that to Kari. I was like, I'm in the garlic capital of the world. So I was like, okay,
And I was
Kari's
like,
gonna come
what?
stay in Morgan Hill. And I was like, that's the mushroom capital of the world.
Mhm.
It smells like shit.
They both smell
I
like shit,
live
yeah.
in the garlic capital of the world.
It all smells like fertilizer.
It's fantastic.
All right, guys. Do you guys have any final thoughts for the episode before I go make dinner?
No.
Are you gonna
No.
eat cow?
I am indeed. I'm gonna have steak and potatoes and Bush's baked bean, original recipe Bush's baked beans.
I had cow before this episode.
And I'm gonna season it with McCormick's steak seasoning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah, that's my final thoughts. Anybody else?
No,
No.
I'm gonna go work out and be fine.
Isn't it like
Kari's
1
gonna
a.m.
go
or 2
take
a.m.
a
where you are?
fucking
Well,
run.
I already slept because I had to be up for this show, so I
Oh,
slept
because it's the
early,
beginning of
so
your
I'm-
day. Well, good morning.
We'll see
Good
you
morning,
guys.
everybody. I'm gonna get up and go.
Thank
do
you. I
that.
appreciate that, Red Panda Koala. We will see you guys on Thursday. I hope I make it. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'll make it.
We
I-
appreciate it.
I will not. So this coming
are making
Thursday is my last show for until I'm in Morgan Hill.
Yes.
So
So
you
Kari will not be
here
around.
this Thursday.
Although,
You know what? I hear
watch out
that
for
there's some
random
people.
videos.
So that's not scary.
I hear that there's some people who are very interested in filling Kari's shoes that might pop in and like hang out with us. So, we might have some special guesty poos when Car is not here.
I mean, you
Kari
never
is
know.
going to be staying.
I might turn up.
And
Kari's
Kari
gonna
might
be
also
staying
just
at my
turn
parents'
up, yeah.
house, so we will do the episode
Oh,
together.
that's a good vibe.
Also,
I love that.
I'm gonna be setting up my GoPro so I can do live streams on this channel, just randomly. So you'll see me in random places, and it will be very
He's
quick.
gonna
Like, hello.
set them up in the bathroom.
Yeah, it's just gonna be me shitting in like 7 different states.
I love that.
That's all it's gonna be. And
Tell
look, I
me
even
that would
got the
not be
media
a
mod.
good
So like,
vlog.
it's
That
got
would
a
be a
good
great
microphone, so
vlog.
it would be a great vlog. I'm shitting on your dreams right now.
Shitting across America.
Shitting through America.
Or just call it Shitty
Shitting in
America.
America.
The shitting
Shitty
in
America.
America.
I
My
just call that
trip
Twitter,
to-
but
It's
My
Twitter,
trip
yeah.
to Shitty America. And
All right,
this is
guys. Be original. Don't be stupid.
off.
Pray to Jesus, wear your seatbelt, snort
Where
cocaine,
can we
and
find
tip your
you?
waitresses. Please do not find me on the internet. I don't want to be your friend.
Can you find me
She's
a
lying.
Find the
Won't be
Truth
my
fan?
You
friend.
can find
I
Jamie
run
at
the
that
cabal.
one
It was
time.
me.
I was abducted
Borderline
by
boomer,
aliens.
Jamie, are you serious?
It's been like that the whole show.
I didn't
I
notice.
literally
know.
announced it in the beginning
Shut
of the episode.
up, Bree.
All right, Bree. Everybody can find Bree at Contact at the Desert. What are those dates?
June 2nd through the 4th. I'm there. I give hugs. I'm there
God.
to help and assist and love and persist.
Somebody
right.
remind me when I have to fly out to that fucking state.
We will. All right. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys for Super Serious Science Show on Thursday. Bye.
Love you all. Bye.